2 days after Lourdes Maldonado was murdered outside her Tijuana home, her dog, Chato, is still waiting for her to return. Concerned neighbors brought food and water, but the poor dog refuses to eat or drink. It just sits there, whimpering near the door. Maldonado was the second Tijuana journalist to be killed this month, and the third in all of Mexico. Margarito Martinez, who was a prolific crime photographer, was shot and killed outside his home on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And a week before that, Veracruz journalist José Luis Gamboa was brutally stabbed to death. Mexico has long been among the most dangerous places in the world for those who report the news, but the slayings this month have brought the fear and outrage among the journalists to another level. This week, they took to the streets.
¡Viva Lourdes Maldonado! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Margarito! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Margarito! ¡Viva! ¡Viva los periodistas de Tijuana y del país! ¡Viva!
The reporters are demanding more protections for the living and justice for the dead.
¡Justicia! ¡Justicia!
Sonia de Anda heads a local journalist collective called Yo Sí Soy Periodista, or Yes, I Am a Journalist. She helped Maldonado enroll in the Baja California program to protect journalists 2 years ago. Now she says that program failed Maldonado. Most heartbreaking to her is that Maldonado knew how vulnerable she was and foresaw her own death outside her home. She had told De Anda almost exactly how her death would happen.
Sentía que su momento más vulnerable era cuando llegaba a su casa, se bajaba del carro y caminaba 4 pasos para entrar a su puerta. Decía, ese es mi momento, y casualmente es donde la matan, ¿no? Sí, lo sabía. Haz de cuenta que lo describió.
De Anda says that Margarito Martinez had also asked for state protection last December.
El 17 de enero que lo asesinan, pues prácticamente me entero que nunca lo habían incorporado al mecanismo porque el sistema estatal no se había instalado.
But the new governor, who took office in November, had not yet set up the enrollment process. Jan Albert Hudson is the Mexico representative for the Committee to Protect Journalists. He says Baja California's protection program is woefully inadequate.
The entire Baja California state mechanism is a hollow shell. It is not autonomous. It doesn't have a budget of its own. It has maybe 3 or 4 people working for it. It has its knowledge of risk evaluation and applying protection is rudimentary at best.
And it isn't just Baja California. Crimes against reporters are rarely punished in Mexico.
The principal factor that fuels these attacks is the impunity in Mexico. In practice, it means that more than 95% of all crimes against the press in Mexico are never actually prosecuted.
Tanya Navarro is a reporter at the San Diego Union Tribune. The last time she saw Maldonado was at Martinez's memorial less than a week ago.
Unfortunately, we were here last Friday, 4 days ago. It was, I wouldn't know, but it was the last time that I would see Lourdes.
Maldonado was a veteran broadcast journalist who had covered Tijuana for decades. Navarro saw her as an inspiration to young women in the news industry.
And that's how I remember her, as a hard worker and an example for many of us that started journalism when she was already a big reporter here in this town.
Longtime journalist Vicente Calderon says the 2 recent murders bring back memories of similar crimes against reporters in Tijuana more than 30 years ago. He remembers marching in 1988 after the murder of Hector Felix Miranda. He worries now that the younger generation of reporters will be pressured to leave the industry altogether.
And when you see this climate, many people will think twice. I've been talking to some of my colleagues, especially the younger ones, and they say that the relatives are the first ones to tell them, why don't you get away from that profession? Why don't you choose another line of work? Why don't you come back to the other city where it wasn't that dangerous as Tijuana? So it has a toll.
The killings this month have already had a psychological impact. Local reporters are second-guessing which stories to cover and when to leave their house. They travel in packs for protection. Journalist Yolanda Morales says the entire press corps is looking over his shoulder.
Yo creo que ahorita todos nosotros.
I think all of us are scared, she says. We leave the house scared. This shouldn't be happening in a democratic country. But Sonia de Anda says that journalists will not succumb to the fear.
Continuamos sabiendo que nuestra sangre se puede derramar.
They won't hide, flee from the country, or stop working, even knowing that their blood could be spilled. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.